Welcome to the Digital Transformationists podcast. On today's episode, we are joined by the amazing Mark Garza, founder and CEO of Flatwater Foundation. We'll hear the story and history of Flatwater Foundation and the Damn That Cancer fundraising event, how digital technology plays a part in Flatwater Foundation's day-to-day and long-term goals, the community dedicated to helping folks find their flatwater through paddleboarding, equine therapy, books, you name it, and the future of breaking the stigma associated with mental health support and how we can arrive there together.
Mark, welcome to the podcast, man. It's good to see you.
Oh, great to see you. Thank you so much for having me.
Definitely. And by way of introduction here, Garrett Dutton. This is Mark.
Hey, Mark.
What?
Good to see you, man. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Garrett. Great meeting you. Thanks for the time.
Are you in Austin, Texas right now?
Technically, I'm about 30 miles north in Georgetown, Texas, just outside. But yeah, we are in Austin and based in Austin and enjoying it. Yeah, I'm sure you know the city a little bit.
What an amazing town.
Killer.
So, Mark, I discovered the Flatwater Foundation through your big fundraising event, Damn That Cancer. And I think I saw it in an Austin Monthly advertisement. And then it happens also that I'm friends with Ashley Elder, who was on your board, I think, at one point or another. Amazing human being. And I figured if Ashley gives a thumbs up on a foundation like yours, it's got to be an amazing group of people.
Oh, wow. Yes. Ashley is incredible.
Yes. Such an amazing human. So, I got to participate in the 2018 event, and then I fundraised in 2020, but 2020 obviously is a different year than other years. Your foundation's amazing. There's a great story, and we're looking forward to hearing your story on it. But for those that are listening, you're including into the support that you provide your benefactors effectively, psychological counseling, as well as an integrated approach to wellness via access to yoga, meditation, group exercises, and personal training. It's amazing how well-rounded y'all are thinking in terms of that. But I guess I don't mean to step on Garrett here, but I'm kind of flowing here. Tell us about the foundation.
Yeah, so you're right. All those things are integral. But really, we started Flatwater Foundation here in Austin, Texas in 2010 because there is such a need for access to the mental side of a cancer diagnosis, mental support, and people just were not getting it and still are not getting it. It's still a struggle. So Flatwater was started to provide 100% paid access to families touched by cancer diagnosis, and that's not just the person diagnosed, but also family members and those around it. Because what the name comes from, as we say, when a diagnosis is introduced, a lot of waves kind of crash across a big community. And our mission, our vision is to bring these families back to what we call the serenity of Flatwater.
And it must be just extremely rewarding to be able to help people through this. And I know that you've been through this yourself. And that was your father was diagnosed, right, in 2009.
Right.
And from that, what I gather, you kind of found paddleboarding as an outlet, as a meditation to kind of help you cope with, the struggle that your father was going through and your family was going through. I mean, can you just tell us a little bit about, how that very personal meditation and exercise thing, just something and you clicked and then you found a larger calling even outside of your own family?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I gave you kind of just the quick background, sort of more of the, what we are in the canned response. But what I'd love to do is, take a step outside of that and really, really have a conversation about what's important here. And that's taking care of the head, right? Mental health and taking care of your brain. So I did. You're exactly right, Garrett. I went through this and found out my dad was going to die. Like, in a nutshell, I'm the youngest of 4 kids. And, up until the age of, I was around 33 at the time, 10 years ago. And we had gone through life with good news and doing well and successes and, wins and stuff along the way. And I was very blessed, very fortunate. But you get to something like that, and your dad is kind of brings everybody to the table, and we were living all across the country at the time, 4 kids, and kind of explains, but in a really weird way, what's going on with him, and PSA and all this stuff that we had no idea what any of it meant. And so we kind of crashed into different directions. And me being, my mom, my brother, my 2 sisters, and just find ourselves in this struggle that's happening every day, many times a day, all over the world. So the mental side of it hit me and everybody else really hard. Fast forward, I kind of found myself on a paddleboard in Austin, Texas. It's kind of become a hotbed for it, but in 2009, the sport had just arrived, and a friend of mine was opening a shop and gave me a paddleboard. So I'm getting out on the water every morning at 9 a.m., 6 a.m., 5:30 a.m., like just getting out before work if I can. And yeah, found what you said, man. Found this accidental meditation, this level, this calm, this mindfulness. I wasn't practicing meditation actively, and just kind of accidentally found myself in this moment, this lull. In the winter, there would be these little wisps of kind of fog 2 inches above the water that would just wisp off the board, and it just was the sign that I was doing better and I felt great and I was taking care of my mind, but something was missing, and I needed maybe some professional help. And that sort of path to finding a therapist was so hard and so confusing. Got to the point I found a therapist and got there, and it's hard to figure it out. And then once I did, it wasn't until I was in the session I found out it was going to be $140 an hour, for a 50-minute session. And
right.
So yeah, through that whole struggle, I really found this was going to be a challenge. In time, saw my mom going deeper into, how's your dad? How's your dad? My dad's fine. He's dying. But my mom was hit harder than I could have ever imagined. So anyways, the aha moment, this therapist I couldn't afford to see called me back and said, hey, you know what? I'm sorry that you couldn't continue booking. There was something about you. Come on in. There's something about you. Don't worry about the money. I need to see you. I need to talk to you. And this was, just about a decade ago. And man, that boom, that session was like a USB drive in my neck. I always say that. And she downloaded what was going on and spit it back. And I was ready. And I could not wait to get to the next Thursday. And then the next Thursday. And she said, don't worry about the money, man. And that was it. I knew this is it. If we could remove that barrier, it doesn't have to be like this. We can change lives.
Do you still see her? Sorry, Christian.
I don't. That's a great question. I don't. And that question reminds me that I need to shoot a text of gratitude her way, and maybe give her an update. I do see a therapist still. We're founded in Austin, Texas, based in Austin. Our offices, through the pandemic, we've let go of that to slim our costs in the office, and so I'm working out of my house. But we still do work out of Austin, Texas at our base. But I live outside of town, and we'll probably get into it. But I've also started to embrace teletherapy as well.
Wow. So I kind of touched on some of the things that you've integrated effectively into the program, so to speak.
Great.
I've heard also that there's an equine element to this, which is so cool. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, I spoke with her this morning, Lindsay and Alyssa. Yeah, Chelsea Hardy and myself. So there's 2 of us. There's only 2 full-time employees at the foundation. And Chelsea, years and years ago, we both understood the power of equine therapy and animals and equine-assisted counseling. And we kind of had gotten together and had this idea and this concept, and met Lindsay through her husband, who is a member of a 2-person band called Black Pistol Fire. Shout out to Black Pistol Fire. And crazy small stuff. And we have Black Pistol Fire play our little rinky-dink party, right, in the parking lot before they're all over the world. And he's like, Kevin's like, you got to meet my wife. She's doing equine therapy. And so we had a lot of meetings, built the program, and I went through it, and I was in tears, just bawling, because I was going through what I was going through with my dad. I saw the power firsthand. Chelsea meant a lot to her. She'd grown up around horses, and we thought, wow, this is something we really need to integrate. It's exactly what we do. Same core program, same core mission. But sometimes talk therapy doesn't work. It isn't what you need. People don't want to, maybe it's a whole family. They don't want to sit with a counselor. And this was it, man. I could talk for hours about it, so I won't. But yeah, that was it, and that was about 7 years ago. And to this day, most of the people that want to tell us about their success and their testimonial, because it's all anonymous, not because there's stigma, but because HIPAA, we keep it private. But they come to us and they're like, I got to tell you about equine. So it's really cool.
Very cool.
And it's not horse riding. They're not on the horses. It's all energy work. It's all around the horses and the power and the humble sort of emotion.
Sure.
When you have a family that you're trying to help through the struggle, right?
Yeah.
So do you have, first of all, are you helping, are most of the families like in Texas, like around Austin, or are they around the world? Okay,
great question. That's a great question. So the need is just, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of therapy needed, right? And so because of our location in Austin, Texas and Central Texas, we knew that, we're a small organization, 2 people. We could grow it to 1 million, 2 million,
right.
See what we could do. We are focused on the greater Austin area, from sort of the Georgetown area down to San Marcos and Buda south of town. But here, the $5.5 million of work we've been doing has been tailored towards Central Texas, greater Austin area. And it's just a scratch on the surface, man. We want to set an example. We want to inspire, but we're hoping that we're making an impact, especially on stigma worldwide.
Absolutely. So then do you have a network of kind of, therapists and like the equine therapists so do you have a network kind of?
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly what it is here. It's a Flatwater network. When I started it, so we have one equine therapy program, and it's a little more specialized, and we have some limited referrals into that because it is a little more specialized, and it's half an hour, 45 minutes outside of town, and they have smaller capability for capacity. But what we've done is so when I started this, it was like, at the time, Doug Ullman was at Livestrong, and he and I were college buddies. He was the CEO. And I went to him just when I was going through this with my dad, and it was like, wait, that's when I discovered, talking to him, that like people they were building a navigation center, and they could get 4 or 5 sessions. And then I started to go beyond that and find insurance and other things. It was like you were limited to 5, 6 sessions. And it's like, what, 2 months? This is cancer. It's not going away. Like, It's going to come back. So it just didn't make sense. So we really knew that we needed to do something about it. And I thought, well, what if I dedicated myself? I told him, like, what if I just personally, it was just me, and I was a volunteer. I had a full-time job in advertising. I was like, I'll use my marketing skills to raise money, and we'll pay the bill for people that want to get therapy. And they're like, okay, yeah, sure. And so I went to Livestrong and said to their counselors and said, hey man, you must have hundreds of counselors that they send me people. And they're like, well, you do. Handed me a stack of business cards and said, here are some counselors that say we'd love to help people that come to your office. And I said, do you send anybody? And they said, no, it's too expensive. And that was the theme. It's too expensive.
Right.
It's too expensive. And people are going through cancer, and it bankrupts them. Money is gone. Even if you had money, it's ripped away. So started with that stack of business cards, and I built a network, as we call it now. And what it was a spreadsheet. And I went and met with them. I'd see their offices, check their kind of their privacy, parking, ADA compliance. Is it a place I would go? It's like, you got to feel great about it. So if I felt great about it, that's all I knew. I wasn't a nonprofit executive, man. Like I was just going to build this, and was a volunteer. And so it grew. And it was a spreadsheet with 10, 15, 20 names. My made-up slogan was "Send us the bill." Flatwater Foundation, send us the bill. Send us the bill. Flatwater Foundation. Like, that's all it was, man. I would check the mail, and it was out of my townhouse, and I would get the bill, and I would go to the funds, and we had set up. We were 501c3. We were everything compliant. My father, who was dying and then passed, had for 25 years run a nonprofit doing dentistry called Christina's Smile. He was a dentist, and he had performed. He was doing about 28 million by the time he passed in unpaid services in dentistry. Yeah, we built the first mobile dental offices in the back of 18 wheelers. I don't tell that story enough, but yeah. So that was what my dad was doing, and so I'd seen it could be done, and he was helped me form it, and we did everything right, bylaws, board of directors. So yeah, we built it up, and that was a long way around the corner there, guys. Sorry, but the story
No,
the story becomes.
that was a good walk. It was a good walk.
Yeah, excellent. So there, I'd been inspired by my father who was dying, and I knew these people weren't going to get help if he passed, and we needed to help more people. So, yeah, that network grew, and it was just a spreadsheet that we said, okay, people do not need to call Mark. They don't need to call, quote unquote, the Flatwater number. I need to partner with people that know these families that are working with them every day, day in, day out. And so Texas Oncology here in Austin, US Oncology, was a great place to start. The Livestrong Cancer Navigation Center, when it was still in existence. They've changed that a bit now, but Wonders and Worries is an organization that does care for the children of families of diagnosis. So nobody's been taking care of the parents. And so we started there and empowered them with access to the spreadsheet. But as you know, Christian, you can't operate scale off a spreadsheet.
Spreadsheets, no.
Yeah, but that's it, man.
Well,
that was our network, and our network of 15 became 150.
Wow.
And yeah, that's exactly what we do with the network.
So the universe gave you amazing ingredients, inspiration through your father, history of doing something to help other people in the world of health, right? And you've just done amazing things with it. And I know that's taken an amazing team. And at the moment you say you're full-time wise, two of you, like Chelsea's like a rock. Like
absolutely.
I mean, like, I'm outside looking in, of course, but everything that comes through y'all, everything that comes through her communications also, because I receive more of her communications.
Right. She handles our events. Yep.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. So yeah, there's two of us. But the Flatwater Foundation, I like to say, is actually what we call the Flatwater family. Is a couple thousand people, like yourself included, paddlers, past paddlers, donors. Some 18,000 donors. But really, this core family, these people that have done our 3 or 4 month pre-pandemic, it was a lot more community focused, and we'll get back there. We've made some big changes, but those people, plus we've got these 150 therapists, plus we've got these 50 some odd partners in local cancer organizations. It just so happens these people and the therapy is all paid for. It is all paid. None of this is volunteer and free. We don't use the word free ever in our messaging, because then it proves its value and it's worth so much. But we pay on behalf of the families going to care. We pay for their bill. So it's not just two of us. It is an army. And Ashley has also hooked us up with some volunteers and others. But yeah, we try to keep Marcom. I come from ad agencies and a communications background, and Chelsea's come from as a professional athlete, as a professional pole vaulter, and sponsored athlete. So we use our strength as sponsored for the marketing to make a difference.
Right. So just kind of along those lines, Christian was saying that your board is amazing, and obviously the Flatwater family has touched a lot of people through the Damn That Cancer event.
Yeah.
And that's a real community builder.
Yeah.
So I imagine a lot of the team building kind of happens organically from people, kind of being passionate and sharing, the joys and the victories that you guys are able to help bring to people. But can you just talk a little bit about that, about the team building?
Yeah, it's exactly it. It's completely organic. It's not like, hey, come join the club. It's a club that I started to find out about because I made myself really vulnerable. Really early on, it was about kind of being vulnerable and telling my story and trying to be like, look, I got hit with this. It sucks. I needed therapy. I still need therapy. We all need therapy. I'll admit I don't do enough of it. I should take care of myself even more. We all should. So the community came just, for example, I had friends around me every single day for 10 years that I'd been back home. I was born and raised in Austin, and I lived around and traveled for work in New York and San Fran. So I'm back home, and I have these friends I've been around all my life. Once I started to find out, hey, dude, my dad died from cancer too. And I'm getting emotional because I'm thinking in my head, I'm thinking about specific conversations.
Yeah.
And I have no idea. Wow. And, and then even last year, 10 years into running this, I have a friend that I grew up with from kindergarten that is still in my life, come back in my life, and is like, yeah, man, this means a lot because of me losing my dad when I was little. And it's like, oh man. And so that club of all these people that the worst club you ever wanted to be in, man, people that have lost their dad way too early, but then also just people that were diagnosed and people that have been through this and people that lost a mother, spouse. They all started to really gel. And it was because I had that experience on a paddleboard, and I decided, you know what, let's go take this 21 miles on Lake Austin and go do this with 12 of us just to get on the radio and the news and talk about it and TV. Why are you doing, what is this walking on water? What is this paddleboarding? It wasn't California. We were in Austin and people had never seen this. And so it worked, and that message got out. And not only did we hope to move the needle for stigma, but other people said, I want to know about this. I was getting emails from all over the country. Hawaii. Hey, I saw what you guys just did, and I want to learn more. And so a friend of mine, Ben Cortez, who used to live in Austin, was in Hawaii and tried to get some professional surfers and stuff involved. We did. Flew them out. Like, this is incredible. It happened so fast, man.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it was like this community of people that were dying to have a fun conversation around surf, paddleboarding, sports, water sports, coffee, whatever, and create a marching army that every year became a fundraiser. And then the week after that first stunt, where we paddled 21 miles with some friends and a radio DJ, JB from JB and Sandy, and grabbed people with reach and frequency. And a week later, we had a nonprofit 501c3 submitted, an organization with the Secretary of State in Texas, and knew we needed to make that an event. I knew that could be an event that we could use to, had no idea what it would become, but to maybe raise some dollars to pay for this. And that became the core of the community. But we now do marathons, runs, walks, fishing, anywhere you can find your flat water, you can, anything you do, read a book, but whatever it is that you do to meditate, yoga, find flat water, that's why we integrate those other things. Exactly.
Yeah. So, in the world of, I'm gonna get this to some techie stuff. In the world of software development,
I love it.
Practice called Agile, and in that, there's a lot of talk about ceremonies and rituals. In the Flatwater Foundation, if you ever go to an event and paddle it, it's beyond words, amazing and beautiful. The interactions, and a lot of those, I think, the rituals that have come in the annual event are the very same things you shared with us around putting yourself out there and being vulnerable. Writing people's names on your arms, and share with us some of those rituals of the Flatwater, of the actual Damn the Cancer event, because it's so beautiful. And for those that are listening, go to the website, flatwaterfoundation.org, and see the pictures that the team has shared of these events. It's amazing.
Yeah, tylersdtc.com. You can check out sort of the recap from this year, which was a strange and different. We had to do that was 15 7-person, sort of 7 or 8 person small DTCs with masks on shore, totally socially distant, like 60 of us had to go virtual. But anyway, it's still very moving. And through the pandemic, I'm been very careful. I'm a safe guy here. I've got bad asthma. We had epidemiologists in the city, and we had advisors, and we did it so clean that the epidemiologists joined us out there, because we just separated everybody. So thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, Sharpies. The Sharpies is a big one. And every year, you've been doing this for 10 years, and every year people do something, laminate photos of all the loved ones that they want to honor, and somebody else picks that up, and then 10 people, and then 20 people, writing the names of who you want to honor all over your body in a Sharpie for the day. But the cool part is, in past years, is all the people, you have to hand a pen to somebody else to write on your back and write on your legs and so you literally have to physically go through the ritual of saying, hey, Christian, will you write my dad's name on my shoulder? I'm getting emotional thinking about it, because
it's moving, man. It is.
Yeah. And then getting on the bridge, we started this thing called Low Water Crossing Bridge, and stand on a bridge with the national anthem. But years back, we lost a very close and dear friend that lived sort of in that community, and we started to bring flowers down and holler out the names of people we wanted to honor and toss flower off the bridge.
I live in Apache Shores, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my
And
home.
love it. And so so we throw them in the water in his backyard right now. Right there, we would throw these flowers in, and then get some obviously extra flowers that we would throw in, and just have everybody start yelling the name out loud into the air, who they want to honor. And so the next 10 hours, that kicks it off, opens the doors, and really the flourish. But the next 10 hours, you don't even realize, Garrett, you wouldn't even realize you paddled 21 miles over 10 hours because people are talking, sharing their stories. Hey, me too, me too. And just getting to know each other. And it's tough. It's tough. It's hot this year. October, but it's hot and it's hard. But the vulnerability is the walls are down and the community is stronger.
But it's amazing. 21 miles is a long distance. 10 hours is a lot of time, but that's a lot of time to reflect and really just set your intention. And I gotta say, it's very energizing when you hit some of those corners. You start hitting those headwinds.
Yeah,
those are tough, man.
Yeah.
But I tell you, that energy that you harness it, you kind of build in that morning and in conversations really carry you through. And it's amazing of the community feeling to it as well.
I'm glad to hear that. I love to hear that. There have been years that the struggle has been so hard. I get scared. Those are my people. It's my 200. That's my family.
A lot of responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's scary. And I've been in tears before with white caps in our face and falling down and people falling off their boards. But it always seems that the harder it is, the happier everybody is when it's over. But the more proud and excited about it people become. It's never not exciting at the end, but we always prevail. And we don't always make it through on the other side, and people run out of time with cancer, and we don't shy away from that one bit, but we have to celebrate everything we're doing to help them and get them to a better place if possible.
I want to kind of go back to something that you said earlier, and that was kind of about kind of one of the core missions, which was, what did you say was like trying to take away the stigma of therapy and mental health? Can you just talk a bit about that? Because I feel like there is such a stigma attached to that in a lot of families. Like, I think like in our family, even my oldest son has had quite a lot of therapy growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of the only person in our family that has had therapy. And it was kind of the thing like, Duttons don't get therapy, which is obviously like a really stupid thing to feel. But
No,
I just feel like from a personal thing, so you must deal with that all the time.
Yeah.
Like people are like, I don't need therapy.
Yeah.
No, I don't need it.
Yeah.
You shoulder everything. So just talk about that.
Yeah, I'm the son of a stubborn, tough love Hispanic man.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's real. That's very real, and you hit the nail on the head, man. So basically, like when it all started, it was about starting a conversation. And by starting a conversation, simply a conversation through paddleboarding, for example, starting a conversation on the news, we could move the needle a little bit just to get people talking about it. If we were on the news and then the news story was about like why mental health is important around a cancer diagnosis, it was really more about why mental health is important and taking care of yourself. And then cancer was what I was going through in my life. It wasn't about me.
Yeah.
It was just about people need to take care of their heads and their minds.
Whatever the stimulus, whatever the circumstance.
Getting through life. And I'm not a mental health professional. Every meeting I have, every time I talk to a counselor, I am a guy who's told your dad is going to die and struggled through it and then realized we could put something in place to make it easier for people to get help. I'm not a therapist. I'm a businessman. I'm an ad guy. I'm a whatever you want to call me. But for 10 years now, I've run a nonprofit that is making that happen. So it was starting a conversation and moving the needle. But I realized very quickly that if you create all of these amazing paid for opportunities, open all of these doors and, put the people in the hallway, nobody's going in the door if they don't feel like they need to, want to, should, supposed to. So we could completely and totally build the amusement park, but nobody was going to be on the rides. If we didn't start to tell them about how awesome it was. So while mission and the money and the dollars that we raise, those all go to pay for therapy for these families that are diagnosed and are matched through our network. We've been hit hard with the pandemic. We had to push pause on new placements into care for a while. We still are paused while we have 350 people in their families that are in care and 40,000 cash out the door. We got up to where we were doing $120,000 cash out the door, which is $240,000 of therapy in a month, right before the pandemic.
Wow.
Two-person organization plus the whole family and network. And so, it was just with the event on hold, we had a $1.2 million deficit, right?
Yeah.
And so, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying, I guess you kind of touched on it earlier, but yeah, so basically with your medical insurance, you're just not getting, people aren't getting they might get some minimum health therapy, but not adequate.
Yeah, so, and a lot of times insurance doesn't cover it. So how to qualify, when we are able to, and when we climb back up, and we've made heavy headway, and we still need help. We need a lot of help to get there. Because cancer doesn't go away. So we went from this, insurance might do 4 or 5 sessions, and that's what that triggered that is those 4 or 5 sessions, and then you're done. So the criteria for getting in is that you couldn't otherwise afford the care yourself, and you're seeking this help because of how cancer has affected you. So, and we empower our partners at Texas Oncology, Wonders and Worries, our referral partners that know these families very well and know their finances, et cetera, to make those calls. But they need to ask those questions like, could you afford this on your own? If so, let's look at those vehicles and your insurance and what it'll cover. Yeah, often they're left high and dry out the door 6 weeks in, 7 weeks in. And so we keep people in there ongoing, months, weeks, years. And so it's I told you that theme at the beginning was it's expensive. It's too expensive. It's too expensive. Well, yeah, it gets even more expensive when you say, I don't want to take this away from you. Mm-hmm. That's what's happening is people will go with insurance and start with it. So if they do have insurance, the long answer is they can use their insurance and should use their insurance and be taken care of. But a lot of times that goes away, dries up, or a lot of these folks that we're taking care of don't have access to that. So that's where the big gap is. And man, what a time to talk about mental health during a pandemic.
Right.
Yeah.
So God, that's like a tremendous cash flow you guys have to have coming in and going out. I mean, seriously,
exactly.
Especially if it's, unlimited. Like that's.
Once a week. We do limit it to once a week. So, but that's because we have to have breaks in place, and we do every 8 sessions. We have the therapy. We have the therapist check in, and we have a policy where each 8 it reminds them this is number 8, and so every couple of months you're gonna let them know they can heal. That's not to say, hey man, Garrett, you're done. It's to say, hey. Right. You can heal, because when I went through it, I was like, "Is this forever?"
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, you just have a framework. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna. We were. Christian was telling me before we got you on the line today about some of your sponsors too. And it sounds like you have just a wonderful group of companies. That, So can you just talk to us about kind of how you've teamed up with them, how you linked up with them, who they are, and and what areas they're able to help?
Yeah, it's been actually pretty cool. So we start by kind of like the overall branching and put it together. And there's a company in town called Tyler's who, if you've ever been to Austin, there's places like Stillwater, Oklahoma. You see Eskimo Joe's teas. I know you've traveled quite a bit, both of you guys. Mm-hmm. But Garrett, specifically, these cities, and you travel around city to city, and people will wear a shirt from a city that has nothing to do with anything, but it's kind of an icon. And in Austin, these shirts say Tyler's, Austin, Texas on the back, and they're everywhere. Okay. And Tyler's is a t-shirt shop. It's a lifestyle shop. It's Billabong, Nike, Under Armour, runs the gamut. And so I went in and said to the owner, I was introduced to the owner by now our board chair, but a close friend of mine, and introduced us to the company. And I said, hey, I have an idea. There's a shirt. You guys have, everybody in Austin wears them. I've started this organization. My mission is to provide access to these families. They can't get help. They can't get mental health or counseling around therapy. Here's our logo. Here's our brand. This is what we do. And I'd love to take one shirt. These guys are selling thousands of shirts a week, all over their 8 locations now. They've grown to 8, but across the state of Texas. And I said to the owner, I love what you do. I love your store and your vibe. I'd love to make our mission part of this lifestyle. Kids, college kids, young adults, and get them thinking about therapy. not just cancer, but mental health and Flatwater. And so maybe I could have one shirt, we could design it, maybe some patients could design it, but we design it in all, just Tyler's. Blank shirt says Tyler's, but that shirt will have Flatwater on its sleeve. And he was like, I love it. It's great. He's like, okay. So from there, it became a way to raise money. Then I said, oh, well, can I come back in 2 weeks? I have a major event that we do, Damn That Cancer. I'd love to talk about getting you involved as maybe presenting that event, because we need to take it to the next level. Great, come back on in. So that starts there. Then local businesses start to get involved and see, the Hewletts and Hewlett Volkswagen, Hewlett Chevrolet, they do we do a wrap, we do a vehicle every year for 4 months.
Oh, cool.
And so we start to get GM, then we have General Motors and Chevy and Volkswagen, and then it's like the event grows. And unfortunately, I said, Chelsea was an athlete and she was a sponsored athlete, and I come from marketing. And so we start putting I love it. Love it. So we start putting these partnerships in place, and then the natural ones come, like Ashley, Christian, or or you work out at Orange Theory Fitness, or you go to CrossFit Central. And I was media, so I wanted to go to the magazines. And then I thought, once we get out there, we start put together packets, and then the packets are what we can give. And so it's kind of a snowball effect. The more you can grow, and the more you can obviously get those eyeballs, you can talk to people about what you have to offer. But what I realized is this wasn't the same as my traditional world. There was so much more emotion involved and so much more tied to it emotive. So a lot of times we'd have a sponsor that would say, we have Rob who got the years he's gotten, Rob Koenig, who's gotten, we used to, our shoe sponsor, for example, was, we've been through a few, but we had Maui Gym involved. Rob had us have rainbow sandals. We now have Harimari shoes. So Harimari, but they come on, and a lot of these guys want to come on and support the paddlers in the event to get involved. But sometimes we'll have sponsors that will say, "Don't worry about my logo, or don't worry about my what do you need? We can gift them. And it was just kind of flipping me upside down, because they're like, no, we need to put you. And they would be like, okay, well, you can put it on the website, but like, this is just so important, man.
Wow.
My dad, I just lost my dad, and so I don't know. I struggle to talk about this, but what really hit me is that on the sponsorship side, I started to just get sponsors and meet with sponsors, but they all started to become sort of like, me too. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, well, then let's work together on this. Let's figure it out. What can keep you happy, get you guys out there, but more importantly, I just want people to know that you are supporting us. So it's gone national. Amazing. It's gone national. Look at our list on tylersdtc.com, Sunbum, and it's hard for me because I want to say every sponsor. Don't get me started, because I want to say every sponsor, because they make it happen. We raised in our audited financials, we did like $164,000 in sponsorship dollars in support from sponsors, and on the year, 18 would have been the most recent, filed. We just did 19. Around 125,000, give or take, at the 125,000 in cost of fundraising. We exceed our cost of fundraising and event costs with sponsor dollars. So there's a surplus, so that the money donated to our paddlers and our event participants, 100% goes to the therapy.
That's an amazing stat to share, and I wanted to get to that, talk about these numbers. I don't know what the benchmarks are out there for nonprofits, and cost of ghost overhead and expenses versus actual services. But y'all have done phenomenally well. You mentioned you're a businessman, you've been in marketing, and you've pulled together just an amazing program.
Thank you.
What is the benchmark?
Yeah.
What is a successful nonprofit in terms of expenses versus actual service?
The first benchmark is existing after 3 years. The first benchmark is sort of that 80% attrition, like just not making it. And so that was a really hard one, and a big one.
Look at the restaurants and businesses. You got to hit that 3-4 year mark.
Yeah, this is no different. This is a small business selling a mission, but it was volunteer. The first 5 years I was a volunteer, so there's no staff, and kept it lean. But a lot of times people come to that 80-20. 80-20 program, program overhead ratio, and I had trouble with that for many, many years. The first 3, 4, 5 years, 6 years. The overhead myth of sort of, you have to hit this number and you have to be there, because as you know, Christian, you're a data guy, process. Those numbers and those relationships really change and tweak at scale. And when you're really small, you have to get things done, you have to get things accomplished. But we didn't invest anything in human capital. And then we flipped that kind of switch where we had to get an executive director, and right away we said, well, we need to invest in Chelsea or an events person because this is getting too big. And and so we tried to struggle to hit those benchmarks. But what happens, and the reason a lot of nonprofits go away, is because there is a stigma, there is a myth around overhead about investing in human capital and having to hit those numbers, because if you don't have the people to do it, you're done. You're done. You can't do it. So it was scary and it was hard, but we've done it, and we twofold, threefold, got it back. But so now we're at a 90-10. I think at audit we were at 89-11.
Wow.
And that's all changed. Like that's all changed, and this it hasn't been, not for the worse, whatever, but sort of this year shook us up. It shook everybody up because we had 4 or 5 months with no fundraising. But we had to lower our expenses. Right. We had to say no to people, which that's been very hard for my mental health. Well, I've been very hard for my own
That's
mental
stressful.
health.
I'm sure you lose sleep over that kind of stuff,
That's the exact phrase I use all the time because it's real. Look, these bags are real. I also had a baby, and I was like, oh no, thanks. This shameless plug for she was due damn that cancer last year. And then Chelsea had one the day after damn that cancer this year.
Right.
So that's what we do.
Wow.
So anyway, yeah, man, it's I can stop there, but it's hitting those numbers and really not wasting, just being as efficient as possible.
I imagine one of the benefits you have is having founded it in 2010 and running for a decade. You're operating in an age of very affordable SaaS platforms and software.
Yeah.
So you can keep, where a legacy or older nonprofit may have just heavy expenses on technology and apps and all that kind of stuff. Tell us about how that's helped you, right? Yeah. The fact that we're where we are in our digital kind of life cycle. And then talk to us also about what you did in 2013 to scale.
Yeah. I was going to say that was a big example. There's 2 different things there. One, we were early adopters. I love being on kind of the edge of technology. I'm an early adopter just by as a hobby, if you will.
Yeah.
I'm an enthusiast. But so I had to look around off the shelf, what's available off the shelf, what we could do. So, for example, we still use Classy. We were one of the first. Scott, the founder of Classy, did a pub crawl for his mom, started it, built his software. We jumped on with him really early on, and
so it's a fundraising platform.
Yeah, so the fundraising platform that we use for our peer-to-peer. I believe they've gotten investment from Salesforce now, but
it's genius though. The ability to help people build teams and actually measure, and it's amazing.
And it came out of him doing a pub crawl for his mom and her diagnosis, and I didn't know that. And then we became friends. They fly out, hang out, do our event.
City and invention, man.
Awesome. Exactly. So anyway, we I mentioned that because we're sort of grandfathered in, and we've negotiation, and we've kind of had some leverage with them to stay where we are and buy down, and we're enjoying wholeheartedly. Like I'd say a lot of software we're enjoying. It's kind of rent control, right? We are still kind of working on 2011, 2012 sort of agreements because in exaggeration, but like we got in early, and then we also, when you get in early with software, you try to be a part of the solution. So the way you handle events, you can also, with technology, you can be a case study and you can be an example. And so if you have to really stand up. Yeah, there's a feedback. You have to really stand up.
Exactly. The customer.
And they listen. And they've helped. They've gotten big, and as they get bigger, it becomes harder.
Sure.
But so for a lot of that, we get calls every other minute from software platforms and software companies and stuff that want us to use. There must be thousands of them out there now doing kind of just that same thing with an exit strategy. But what we really needed to do was manage our platform because we do one thing, and that's cover the cost of therapy for these families. And there's nothing.
Spreadsheet wasn't going to do it.
Nobody. Yeah, it was doing it for 15 therapists, and so I knew, and I'll make this quick, but I knew that we had to combine sort of our strengths: powerful community and donors, people that cared about what we did. Asking somebody to raise their hand who in our community has project management experience and manages development, found it. a good friend of ours, Will, came forward, and he is a big donor, and then also worked in the field, and then said, "Okay, we can trust each other because you're a donor. We can do this at cost, do this at scale." We probably for 20% of the full cost that it would have cost us, we were able to create on the literally back of a napkin in a Starbucks, Chris. I kid you not, like sketched it out at a Starbucks in Brody Oak Shopping Center, drew it all out, and said, "This is what I do. But what if we had a software program and a platform that did this?" And he's like,
Nice.
we built it, grew it. This was my first foray into building an application, a web application. It's an ASP.NET. It's a .NET app. I wouldn't have done that, what I know now, but it's powerful and does everything we need, and it's incredible. So we could scale, add therapists, onboard them, pay them, keep them paid on time, manage their invoices, their scheduling,
It's your
all the
operating
enemies.
system.
And and nobody's doing what Flatwater does, anything like it. So how are we going to find something off the shelf?
Right.
So fast forward, here we are in an age where we got to take everything we've learned. I think we're at the pandemic has given us a lot of pause for assessment, feedback, and self review, and
Sure.
looking at what our greatest assets are. And this software has so much more potential. So now we're looking at what we can do internally for Flatwater to make it more powerful, more robust, increase and enable onboarding, so that a lot of what I do can be automated. From meeting with the therapist, doing all the intake and getting them sort of into the platform. And then also ACH transfers, money transfer, payment gateways, handling payments and stuff, which we still do by QuickBooks and all of that, but we could automate. So using software, I know enough just to be dangerous is the phrase, kind of like, I'm not a developer, I'm not a guy, but I think in process. So as long as we can find the people that can help us get that, we can safely scale. And we've had some good success. So that's how you get to 150 therapists, and that's how you keep them paid on the day they're supposed to get paid. So,
and that's one of the number one things of business: pay your vendors, take care of your vendors.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, effectively, these aren't your vendors per se, but they're the folks providing service on your behalf.
Take
care of them.
Yeah, take care of them, and they love it. It's I'm amazed. We're blessed. They'll come to me and say, when the pandemic started, we had a couple of them that said, "I understand," and we had to curb down their cap. We had to cap multiple payments. We had to figure out who was ready to be done, who could offload, who could go less often, etc. And then we just had therapists that said, "You know what? I'm going to keep seeing them, but I'm not going to charge."
Wow.
Oh, yeah. I was
Amazing.
going to ask you about that. I figured that if you were working with a group of therapists like that, there would be some that would start to donate. But I mean, they offer a service. They have to get paid. It's
And it's not sustainable. Not sustainable. We knew day one that we are paying for this care, and so we pay $70 for a $140 session. We have a 50% scale, which means that $10 can become 20. Donate 100, we can turn it into 200.
Oh, nice.
Okay, cool.
Nice. So, when you think about your software, your product, how are you managing the product itself? We talk about product management. How are you thinking and managing like what you want to build? How are you tracking that? How are you thinking about that?
Yeah, so we built the platform, we had to build it as if we were, had 500 therapists and we're a national organization. That was the value kind of that I went in. And so we built everything so it could scale nationally. And so the way it's sort of tracked, I live in it. Every day I watch it, I know what my frustrations and my pain points are. And so I have Will, our project manager, and I have a very close relationship because he was deep involved into the cause. He was many, many years a Livestrong supporter and a big Flatwater supporter. And so he helps me sort of manage the pain points and what can be fixed and what can be fixed and what could be left alone, because you have to remember, we spend as little to nothing as possible on overhead if it's not going to help us provide more therapy. And so that's really the benchmark for changes and updates.
That's your guiding principle. Yeah.
That's our guiding principle. But what's great is now that we've got 7 years of learning on this, we believe there's a big opportunity to recreate, go down to the foundation, take down the studs, and do something incredibly powerful that I'm excited about, sort of foreshadowing there, but what our opportunities are as an organization. And I truly believe it's not about what Flatwater can do just about what Flatwater can do for this community of families touched by cancer. It's about what our whole country could do to enjoy technology that can easier provide access maybe for employees of companies to get therapy when they don't have any other means. And, there's a lot of cool stuff out there, but access is hard. The BetterHelps and Talkspaces of the world are amazing. Thumbs up, huge proponent. I talked to other heads of most of them and top employees at a lot of them in doing some information gathering on what the future holds for telehealth, because I know that's going to be a major part of our future. And then boom, pandemic hits. It immediately became a part of what we did.
Wow.
Yeah, everybody had to go. Yeah, so so I think there's a lot of exciting.
Well, one of the questions I was going to ask is, what's next? But it sounds like technology is a big part of what's next for the Flatwater Foundation and for you. And I got to say, I'm extremely proud of your organization and you. And,
oh man,
you've just done so many amazing things. And I think this community of Austin and Central Texas is in a debt of gratitude to you. So
the community deserves the credit. Like I'm a guy who like I said, knows enough to be dangerous, but like
but it takes someone to do it.
Thank you.
To start it and to get the ball rolling and you're running a business, and I think Garrett and I can empathize with the struggles and just
burnout. Burnout is real, my friend.
Burnout
is real, my friend. Yeah, I know. When you get to be HR and HR and paychecks and all the hats. And yeah, fortunately, we have an amazing team, like I said, in the board and Chelsea and myself. But no, it is, man. It is, and I feel like a giant hypocrite when I run myself into the ground and don't take care of myself because it is hard.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it's your DNA and personality as well. You can't help but be who we are.
Thank you. Yeah. And just keep going. We're surrounded by amazing people.
Right on.
I appreciate that.
Oh no, you're welcome, and thank you. So we like to kind of wind things down with a little bit of a speed round, lightning round.
Oh yeah, I love it. Game show style.
That's right.
We'll preface it by saying you don't have to pick because we don't want you to lose any sponsorship dollars, okay? So you can answer them however you feel comfortable.
Oh yeah.
To quote one of the openings, I forget which song it is. I think it's "Let's Kick It, G."
Okay. No, can I kick
it?
Can I kick it, G?
Yes, you can.
Tribe.
All right. So NRS or Cruiser? Paddleboard company.
Yeah. Tahoe Sup. Yeah.
Well, I mean, to that end, you've got an amazing round the Lake Tahoe.
Oh my gosh!
I gotta get in on that. That's like it's on my life goal. I gotta tick that one off.
So
you go all the way around the lake.
Yeah, I'll have to. Let me use this opportunity to say that was a one-off, and the whole world comes at me and wants to do that. So we did 2015. We did the 137 miles through Holland. 2015 we looped all of Lake Tahoe on Tahoe Sup boards, and then 2019, you guys, we did 1,000 kilometers that we drove, and we did basically about 60 miles or so across 5 different parts. We traveled the entire circumference of Iceland, living in vans and inflatables.
Overlanding.
Dude,
overlanding.
Dude, it was insane. So yes, we'll talk. We try to change it up. But there's a huge ask for Tahoe. But anyway, yeah, let's talk. Talk.
Here, you know what? Here's another one that you should think about too. From Cape Cod to Nantucket.
I've heard of this. Yeah, I actually have a friend.
They had one. I don't know what. Yeah, you've heard of that?
I do, and I actually have a friend who wanted me to do one. I think Newport. It was in Newport more. So I went to school in Rhode Island. I went to school in Providence.
Oh, right.
I went to Brown. I went to Brown. Yeah, and so I know that area a little bit. But yeah, hey, dude, open ocean water, and it is.
That's a whole different animal.
Yeah, exactly.
We like
Flatwater.
Lake Austin.
Flatwater, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So all right, let's get back to the lightning round. Yeah, I talked too much.
Dawn or dusk?
Dusk. Dusk for sure.
Hunter or gatherer?
Gatherer, easily.
Favorite 90s jam?
Oh, dude, you would do that to me. This is what. Full disclosure, man. I'll be 43 this year. So.
You missed the 90s.
No.
No.
No,
Really?
no,
No,
no.
you lived
no,
it, man. You
dude.
came of age.
I was a high schooler listening to
Okay, right. Okay.
cold beverages, man. I was in high school. So I would say it depends. So easy one for me. The mood. If I wanted to celebrate and crank it up and blast my music in middle school, I would be cranking Black or White, Michael Jackson, the whole Dangerous album.
Okay.
The whole Dangerous album. But I have to go with On Bended Knee, Boys to Men.
Wow.
Cool. Very
Okay.
cool.
Emotional.
Yeah, very much. Let's see. On the paddleboard topic, inflatable or solid hard shell?
I'd go inflatable. Newly, I would turn that to inflatable after my life in Iceland, traveling all over the country. There was 15 of us. We threw 15 catamaran style, pontoon style inflatable boards into a cargo van with our team from Arctic Surfers. We were able to do 15 of us with 15 paddle boards in a van, living in vans,
wow.
and it just opened up a
That's
whole
handy.
new appreciation
Yeah.
Okay.
for inflation and deflation. So it's an efficiency thing, Christian.
No, hey, practical man.
Okay, so now we're gonna switch to some more Austin-based questions. Tito's or Deep Eddy?
Ooh. Wow, both huge sponsors of the Flatwater Foundation.
Okay, that's what I said. Answer at your own
Amazing,
risk.
Kevin Bart, and then all the Deep Eddy too. That's funny. They are both, and I have to say, both of them have come out hard. Like we've got Deep Eddy paddleboards out there, and we've got Tito's boards out there across the years. Yeah,
So cool.
Great. I guess I should have asked you
That's the-
vodka soda or martini.
vodka soda. So vodka soda splash of cran. So the funny part about that is we are very exclusive. Category exclusivity is something that has been very, very important to us. Brown Distributing has come in and been the major sponsor of sort of the party aspect and helped us with beer. Landshark, real quick, Landshark came involved because I used to take Jimmy Buffett paddleboarding whenever he would. Before he would go on the road, they'd come start in Austin, use the Moody Theater, and then go. Yeah, and so a friend of mine, Andy, who gave me my first paddleboard, and he'd invite me to come along, and we would take Jimmy Buffett, and Jimmy was a huge surfer, Montauk. Anyway, he would love what we do. He donated to my Damn That Cancer page. You've just received a donation from Jimmy Buffett, and I was just like, all right. And we got Landshark involved, and they've been in, but the vodka one, it's funny you brought that up because that's the only one where we're like haven't really been too exclusive. I mean, year to year we don't have two vodkas in 1 year, but both of those are so supportive.
Well, here's another local one for you: P. Terry's or Whataburger?
Oh, P. Terry's. Whataburger all day long growing up as a kid because P. Terry's didn't exist, but now P. Terry's spicy chicken sandwich is my jam.
Okay. All right, ACL or South by Southwest?
ACL. South by Southwest has just gotten to be. It's amazing. It's to see music. Like I imagine as a South by Southwest is something that's become very important to us, and I've been on panels and spoke for mental health. So for Flatwater, they've been very supportive, and I've gotten involved as a cause. But to see music, it's too much, too hard. It's too hard.
Shit show.
Shit show. Exactly. Go early. Find somebody. I mean, once you be careful. I won a VIP ticket 1 year, and makes it hard to go back. But ACL, to not have that lux, but ACL all the way.
So this one might be for the old schoolers here, and I think I know which way you'll go. It's more of habit than it is preference.
Okay.
Town Lake or Ladybird Lake?
Town Lake.
Yeah, +1 me on that one.
Southwest Texas State University.
There you go. There you go.
Or Texas State. Southwest Texas State.
All right, a blues question: Jimmy Vaughn or Gary Clark Jr.?
Gary Clark Jr. Gary Clark Jr. I just have to say I'm more familiar. I know a lot more of his stuff, and I really enjoy it. No shade, no shade the other way around, but.
And then the final question. Or you got one, Christian?
G-Love or special sauce?
Food truck or restaurant?
Food truck. I mean, the land of COVID, dude. You get to stay open. You get to keep your distance. You get to no.
Okay.
Food trucks. Yeah, I'm born and raised in Austin, Texas. I know.
You got a favorite food truck in Austin?
I honestly I don't, because my favorite thing to do with food trucks is find something different, like find a food truck.
Okay.
And so I try not to, like, with restaurants, I'll go to P. Terry's. Just go P. Terry. I want P. Terry's.
Too.
With food trucks, yeah, it's more like it's more of a discovery, and they're coming and going. And the best ones seem to be little taquerias that serve Mexican tortas next to really shady gas stations. Those tend to be
no
just
doubt.
super. The bread is right, sauce is right, like a torta, like kind of that you'd find down on the Baja Peninsula in Mexico, like a nice torta next to a gas station.
I don't think that's exclusive to Austin. That's like everywhere. That's such a good point there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's great, Mark. So before we wrap up, can you tell everybody out there how they can learn more about you on the socials, and how they can donate to Flatwater Foundation and everything else?
Yeah, thank you for that. So flatwaterfoundation.org is our website, and flatwaterfoundation.org/donate. You'll find a few different ways. What's a part of what is called our mental health club, which is sort of join the club, and $10 a month or more, whatever. We like to try to send out some fun prizes and stuff periodically to those crew, or just a one-time donation. Like I said, we're climbing back up to get to where $70 is $140 of care. So even just a $70 donation is going to provide an hour of life-saving therapy. And sometimes it just takes that 1 hour. And then tylersdtc.com is Christian shared all of that exciting stuff about our event. See the recap from this year and learn about the people that did it. tylersdtc.com. And yeah, Facebook. We're on the Facebook and the Instagram at Flatwater, and Facebook.com/Save the Minds.
Awesome. Well, Mark, again, thank you for all that you do for our community. Thanks for joining us today, G. Always good seeing you, brother. Thank y'all.
Great to see you too, Christian. Thank you, guys.
Hey, Garrett, nice meeting you, man. Thanks, Christian. Good to see you.
Yeah, keep up the great works, Mark. We were really impressed and inspired.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. It's very cool to meet you. I'm a fan.
Oh, I'm a fan of you too.
Take care, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Digital Transformationists podcast, brought to you by Precipio Consulting. Be sure to visit our webpage to check out our other episodes, access show notes and links, and listen to some great bonus content. Like what you heard? Subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. And tell a friend. We love making new friends. I'm executive producer Katie Thomas. Victor Vargas is our engineer. Alejandro Caballero is our editor. Thanks for tuning in.